Well, this week's RBA rate rise landed with a big thud as millions of mortgage holders around the country steel themselves for higher repayments for the rest of this year. There won't be any relief until next year, at least. Joining us now is the independent analyst, Evan Lucas. How many rises are you looking at now, Evan? Are we 1, 2, 3?
I was always under the impression it would be 2. So that's the one that we've just had, and probably one most likely happening at the May update in terms of where it is. If they want to get on top of what their issue is, which is inflation, that would be what the most likely outcome would be. There are some forecasting 3. I think you've got to look at it from a broader sense in terms of what you sort of just discussed there. The most telling line that came out from the press conference from Michelle Bullock on Tuesday, in my view, was the line when she said private and public demand coupled with productivity that is low to no growth at all has got us to where we are today. That is basically the best summary of everything that has been said since, you know, the Tuesday release.
So what does that mean for the layman?
Yeah, so that's the good point. So when we hear the word productivity particularly, the general perception is that it's about doing more with less, right? That's an activity. That's not productivity. Productivity is about enhancing what you have and therefore being able to produce more with what you already did. So the greatest example, you know, is technology. The tractor's a great example to explain, you know, if you could improve farming, the tractor did, and therefore we went. Now that's a very visceral response to sort of productivity. But in terms of if we can get more time to people to actually do the things they enjoy, therefore allow them to actually do more services, do more good production, you'll then have that increase in productivity. That's the best layman's way to look at it. So that's why technology is a fascinating thing, because technology can help. If it's seen as a help rather than a hindrance, you'll get that. But we haven't had that.
Yeah, but all of that's not happening.
Yeah, and so again, this is also where, don't forget, part of the reason why, you know, particularly the hours worked that we've now seen, which is at record all-time highs, isn't producing more, is the amount of administration that we've created for ourselves, the amount of red tape, which is where all that argument has, you know, all the box ticking that certain industries have to do now to be compliant, or the amount of red tape required to actually apply for an application to open a cafe. Queensland's the great example. There's 129 different legislations they have to cross just to open up a high street stall, right? So that is so many hours of lost work that just to meet the administration. So that's low productivity, and that's where we find ourselves right now.
Do you know what else? I mean, you say that jumped out at you, and that's true. What jumped out at me was Michelle Bullock's refusal to be drawn on any kind of criticism of the government's record spending at the moment. I mean, there's some commentators who say that somehow she's been gagged by the Treasurer, or just won't criticise his policies at all, when it's her job as an independent Reserve Bank governor to do that, because it plays a part in her decision making, right? So I mean, is the RBA free of error here?
So they would argue that they've made their error. So they put their hand up on Tuesday and said that from our forecasts for basically this time last year were wrong. Right, so they forecasted that they were expecting inflation to continue to fall into the end of last year rather than to rise. And if you look at what they said in January last year, that was their expectation, their forecast. She was very strong on Tuesday to show that we have a fan in our forecast, and we got that wrong. In terms of your question around the government, she did say it. She did say that public demand is high, so is private demand. And once we released interest rates like we did last year, private demand basically took off, but we didn't see a contraction in public demand to allow private enterprise to go. Now, the other thing I'll put in this, and I'm not an RBA apologist, I want to point that out there, no chairperson has ever said that they would actually criticise the government.
Maybe they need to.
Maybe they do. And I think, look, you can put it from that perspective. Again, if you look, it's not just here in Australia. Across the world, central bankers try not and pretty much do not enter that world.
Except
the US
Powell.
at the moment. Yeah, exactly. So the US right now is a bit of a different story, because that has had to happen with the fact that Jay Powell is facing criminal charges. But in saying that, we don't do that. And there is no chairperson that you can see over the 65, 67 years that the RBA has been around has ever entered into fiscal policy. They just don't do it.
Okay. Good one, Evan. Always good to chat. We'll talk to you next week.